This is going to be a second upload of this same video that I played earlier today in a Modern League, but I wanted to explain a little bit prior to going into it about why I'm re-recording it. It's going to be for a sort of almost like a how-to beat video, a versus video that I do, but I caught this one live and I thought it was good enough that it probably should be in my Zoo primer, which you can find in MTG Salvation, the modern subforum, and then you'll find Zoo thread that I run there if you want any more information about Zoo in general. And I wanted to talk about how I managed to beat it. It was very close games, both games, and it involved a lot of intricate play. So I thought it was probably the best example of how to play against the Titan Bloom deck. This was the deck that I was running during it, and what I sideboarded in was Stubborn Denial. Here, I'll even pull them aside. Stubborn Denial, Collected Company, 2 Aven Mind Sensor, and 2 Negate. And the reason why I did it this way was because the Collected Company could find me the Aven Mind Sensor in this matchup, which would be important, and because Aven Mind Sensor could theoretically destroy the deck as long as everything works. But the Stubborn Denial and the Negates were all for basically ways to stop the things like the Summoner's Pact, as well as Hive Mind, which is the other half of the combo. We will straight up lose to a just casted Primeval Titan if we just have a Negate in hand, because everything they do is either a creature or a land. But we won't lose to Summer Bloom, we won't lose to things like that to test it up, and we won't lose to the other half of the combo, which they kept in, at least in this rate. What I ended up siding out was, I sided out 2 Voice of Resurgence. Let's just go ahead and do this. 2 Voice of Resurgence, and 2 Ooze, and a... So we would side out 2 Lightning Bolts, 2 Voice of Resurgence, and 2 Scavenging Oozes, and then that's pretty good right there. If I was deciding not to have Collected Company in the deck, sometimes I run things like Sigarda or something else other than this Collected Company. Then I would just keep it a Bolt, because it's at least good to throw at their face and at least good to kill off their Azuzas. So with that out of the way, let's talk about what the Bloom deck does for anyone who it lives under the rock and doesn't know what a Bloom deck does. It used to be a fringe deck. It is no longer a fringe deck. It is definitely a tier 1 deck at this point. It is trying to win the deck by putting out a Primeval Titan with an Amulet of Vigor. Usually what it's going to try to do is, if it hits its best things to do what it needs to do, it'll put out a turn 1 land and put out a turn 1 Amulet of Vigor, which means that anytime a permanent were to come into the battlefield tapped, it comes into the battlefield untapped instead. Then it would go for a turn 2 Summer Bloom by having into a Semitic Growth Chamber. It'll come into play untapped. You go ahead and then use float 2 mana, bring the Summer Bloom back into bring the Semitic Growth Chamber back into your hand. You cast Summer Bloom with the 2 floating mana that you've got. Allows you to play 3 extra lands this turn. You play the Growth Chamber 3 times. Go for a Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan comes into play. You find yourself a Slayer's Stronghold and usually a Boros Garrison. You use the Boros Garrison, then you just float the mana. You can toss the Boros Garrison back into your hand if you really wanted to, or any of the extra lands that you had, and then you go ahead and attack with your hasty 8/6 Primeval Titan. Then you go ahead and search yourself. Depends what you want to do here, but it's very versatile. You can gain life, you can put out blockers if you need to make this a 2-turn attack. But generally what you're going to find is you're going to go ahead and find another Boros Garrison, and then with that Boros Garrison you're going to go ahead and float the mana and use a Sunhome, which will give double strike to your 8/6 Trample Haste Titan with Vigilance, and you go ahead and that'll then make it pretty much lethal, because it's not, you're very rarely going to be able to survive a turn 2 16 damage output, especially if you're using Shocklands like we have in our deck. So that's its main way of winning. Its backup way of winning is to use Hive Mind, which is a spell that, or just an enchantment that says anytime someone casts a spell, then you get to copy that spell and do things with it. But the trick is you're going to go ahead and then play a Pact, so then when you pass the turn, I had played a Pact as well, and I have to pay mana that I don't have, and I lose the game. It also runs a sideboard plan that is basically it's just a really good ramp mid-range deck, where its just goal is to take out the Hive Mind and slim down on the Primeval Titan sort of win, and just go with a bunch of good mid-range creatures like Thragtusk, and just with that life gain, that's a problem for us too. It depends whether or not they're running that in that sideboard. It's kind of like Scapeshift. Sometimes Scapeshift runs a lot of removal, and sometimes they run a lot of creatures to do their thing. You got to judge which side you think it is on game 2 and 3, and sideboard accordingly to it. At any rate, your key cards in this matchup are going to be things like Path to Exile. Path to Exile isn't a permanent solution. They can always find a new Titan. They're very good at finding new Titans. As soon as it starts, you can expect at least 3 turns of Titans, one after another. But you can judge their mana correctly, and maybe they can't do it. As you'll see in the games that I ended up playing, that was a major factor. But Path to Exile is good in our deck because we have a clock. So the whole time that they're trying to get their Titan, make things work out, we're attacking them. They're losing life off things like Mana Confluence as well. And we can basically really start piling and pressure in. And if we have a Path to Exile and we get rid of a Titan, it might be, if we were on the play, enough time for us just to go for the final swing and we win the game. Another key card that you want to look for is maybe Qasali Pridemage. If they're spending a couple turns fumbling, trying to get everything in their combo in order, and they don't have the mana yet, but they've played an Amulet on turn 1, you can blow up the Amulet on turn 1. You've got to be careful, though. Sometimes, if they don't play the Amulet on turn 1, they'll play the Amulet on turn, 6, right when they're about to combo off. Again, which I will show you later on in the video. And they'll hold the Amulet and sandbag it to when they need it and for the turn that they think they're going to attack. Some other cards that are very good against them are stuff like Knight. Occasionally, you can make a Knight big enough to survive the first strike of the Primeval Titan and kill it. It's a sort of a one-hit wonder. It's not super great. Again, Collected Company finding Qasali Pridemage is relatively pretty good. Also, you have in these versions, against these versions of the decks, you also have the chance to Collected Company into just the last bit of aggro if they can't kill you off right away, and then just destroy them. Those are going to be your key cards. You also have things, if you're playing the Retreat to Coral Helm, like I was in this instance, then you can go ahead and combo off. With smaller zoos, your best chance is to just apply a pressure and just aggress the hell out of them. You can also use things like Wear Tear, and yeah, why don't we just go through my collection here, and we can just see what I could suggest as we go down. Like I said, Wear Tear would be very good. Wear Tear actually is very good because it can stop the Hive Mind, and it can stop the well, it can't stop a Hive Mind Pact if it goes right away, but if they cast a Hive Mind and then they don't have the pack and they look for a pack later, it can stop the Hive Mind if they don't have the pact. Other things, Slaughter Pack's alright if you're running black. It buys you a turn just like Path would. Chain to the Rocks is going to be too slow. It's not going to work out the way that you want it to. Bolt is actually really good in the main deck here because it stops at Azusa. Not that I would bring in like Grim Lavamancer or anything, or Dedicated Burn. It's just worth noting that it's not as bad as certain creatures are. The things like Pithing Needle doesn't really do much here. It's all mana abilities that you're gonna. You could Pithing Needle. Technically, I guess you could Pithing Needle yourself a Slayer Stronghold, but I don't think it's the greatest option in the world. Spell Pierce is always an alright option, as is Swan Song. Swan Song's actually probably better because it hits a It hits Summer Bloom as well as Hivemind. Moving right along. I would make sure though if you are playing if you're playing things that have destroy artifact / enchantment, that you're not playing things that are just destroy enchantment. You definitely want to see artifact or enchantment, or just an artifact on its own is good enough in terms of like Ancient Grudge or something. Moving right along, let's go ahead and see what we've got. Either Sworn Canonist is alright, because it stops a chain of casting things. You can't summon Pact and then go into everything else. It's only alright. It'll save you a turn or two if you have enough pressure, which sometimes is enough. So if you're playing a smaller zoo, it's actually worth mentioning that one. Stony Silence doesn't do anything because you're not using any artifact enchant abilities. You're also Thalia's only alright. It doesn't even. I'd only ever play Thalia if I was on the play, to make that clear. And it's only good if you play at turn 2. At any point in time after turn 2, it's marginal at best. Let's see. It's okay. Negate, again, I already talked about how Negate was alright. So was Unified Will is actually way better than Negate in this situation, just because you can actually counter the Primeval Titan as well, and that's big. You've got Ancient Grudge, as stated. Tribal Flames may be getting better, depends on if waste space land counts for domain or not. Eidolon the Great Revel is actually pretty good here. It's if they don't have the win right away and can't turn to you, then Eidolon the Great Revel will just ensure that while they're searching, they take the amount of damage that you need to finish them off. You could bring in things like Skullcrack if you know that they're going to be bringing in things like Thragtusk and whatnot against you. It also will affect the Radiant Fountain, which gains them some life too if you're on that smaller zoo. That's definitely worth noting. Abrupt Decay if you're playing against a deck that's got black. Same thing with Rakdos Charm. Meddling Mage is actually pretty good too. You could actually very easily name Summer Bloom, which is what most of the way that they're going to ramp, but you could also name Primeval Titan. They don't really have very much creature removal, so it's pretty safe to toss it out there, name it, and just let it be. You've also got Deflecting Palm if you're playing the smaller, more burn zoos. Deflecting Palm will win you the game if they go ahead and they attack with just a gigantic Titan. You'll just win the game off of it. Again, Destructive Revelry, for example, Atarka's Command if they're playing the life gain sideboard options. You've got Qasali Pride Mage. I don't think Atarka's Command is super great, but it's okay because it lets you put a +1/+1 counter while sacrificing an enchantment on their end. So it's only okay. I wouldn't say it's great. Aven Mind Sensor, now you're starting to get into the stuff that's really good. Aven Mind Sensor is great. You put an Aven Mind Sensor out, you probably win the game. Especially if you do it in response to them summoning back or something. You go ahead and start thinking about things like Mirran Crusader. It can block a Titan all day long. However, Titan still will trample over, worth noting. So it's not super awesome, but it in connection with like maybe a sword or something is actually pretty good. You can always combo out with the Retreat to Revelry if they don't combo out. You can use Hushwing Gryph and Torpor Orb. It's not the best, but it will if you have it in there versus like Twin or back in the day when Pod was a thing. Like if you had it for those reasons, Meller or Company, you could use it and it will at least buy you a turn. What you really want to use, if you can, and you are on 4 colors, is Blood Moon. Blood Moon, you drop a Blood Moon, you will win the game. There is no question about it. If you drop a Blood Moon, you will win the game. They can't get rid of Blood Moon. The only way out of Blood Moon and Magnus of the Moon would be for Blood Moon, it would be for them to have gone to a creature deck and also had a basic forest in play, or for them to hive mind and they would need to have a basic island in play to do that. With Magnus of the Moon, they also run Slaughter Pact, which can kill off Magnus of the Moon, but the Slaughter Pact is a one of in their main deck, maybe another one in their sideboard. So it's very rare that you're going to do that. Otherwise, you've got things like Molten Rain that can do some amount of damage to them. It sets them back a little bit by a turn. Reclamation Sage again hits their artifact. But other than that, you start running out of options. Burning Tree Emissaries, all right. It punishes them for activating the amount of activated abilities that they have, so it does punish them a little bit. Mardu Charm and other things like Thoughtseize are pretty good if you're playing the black zoo deck, or if you've got black in your zoo deck. Other than that, there's really only one more out, and that out is Worship. Worship is something that you can only play really if you're playing Big Zoo, but it is in fact an out for you, and it can come out of nowhere and just win the game for you. That's about it that you can do against them. There's really not very much else that I might have missed a couple things, like, I don't know, Johnny tapping something down, but they're very much smaller situational cases, so this is just to let you know what options you have against the Titan Bloom deck. Well, without any further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the matchup. It is very, very tight. The first game is about me sort of playing a little bit more interplay-y. The second game is about me being a little bit more aggro-y, but still interplay-y. I never ended up using things like counter spells, but it definitely shows how you can win against the Titan Bloom deck with interaction as a zoo player. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, we drew all the right cards and we mulliganed correctly last game, so I think I don't think I could have done anything differently. I'll keep this hand. It's got 3 mana dorks. It's not my favorite hand to keep. It doesn't really have very much action, but it has removal, so I'll keep it. Supposing this was like another affinity deck, it would be pretty alright. We'll start off with a bird. That way I can still use Lightning Bolt. Mana Compliments. Ancient Stirrings. Alright, I have no clue what we're playing. Okay, now I know what we're playing. This hand's not super great then. Alright, we'll just spew out Noble Hierarchs. Technically, we have mana now. We got that mana acceleration since we pretty much drew every mana dork we have in the deck. So, are we just about to get beat here? I mean, he could Summer Bloom at this point right into a Titan. I guess I could have left up a Path to Exile mana, but the chances of losing turn 2 to this Titan deck are actually really small, even though people will assume that it's not. Alright, let's see if he's got it. He could be just Summer Blooming for value and putting down other lands. Looks like that's exactly what he's doing here. Okay. So none of that was the mana accelerator, but it does put him further up, but at least I still have 2 Path to Exiles. Alright, cool. That thing's getting bolted, so it's not even an issue. Collected Company is pretty smart idea, but I'm just gonna bolt it. I'd rather see that off the board than not on the board. I think he probably would have played more mana if he had more mana. So what's the 2 cards in his deck? I don't know. We'll bolt it. We don't want him to get any more mana acceleration than he already has. We'll just play a Noble Hierarch and we'll swing for a ton of damage if we can help it. That's why we still leave a path open for a potential Titan. So he played some mana, played a land. Okay. Is he gonna hive mine us? Is that what's gonna happen? What land did he end up tossing back in his hand? Tolera West so that he can search for a Titan, I guess? I don't think he can cast said Titan. But that was probably why he played the Azusa, and we were correct in bolting it. Summoner's Pact. Sure, so he can play said Titan. Let's let him waste all his mana because he's gonna go for the haste. And in response to him giving it haste before he attacks, we'll path it. Yeah, and he can pay for the pact right now. Unless he were to be dumb and then drop one of his if he decides to toss one of his, like, we have an option to win if he tosses his lands into the battlefield wrong. Again, this is okay, we're just waiting for him to decide what he wants to toss his lands to go. Alright. So he tossed back Mana Confluence? Sure. And that's okay, he tossed his lands correctly then. We'll say see you later to this Primeval Titan. This will buy us some time. So good, we did play this correctly then. The question is, can we expect to see another Titan next turn? He obviously doesn't have one in his hand. So if he doesn't have one in his hand, we know he has, I believe, 3 lands in his hand. One of them is a way to... Let's see what he's got in his hand. He has Mana Confluence. He has a Boros Garrison in his hand. He has a Tolera West in his hand. What else he has in his hand, I don't know. So if he has a Summer Bloom in his hand, he could cast a Titan. Otherwise, the only way he could do it is he's got to tap these 3 lands, basically, to... if he's got to tap these 3 lands now to pay for Summoner's Pacts, and he needs to put... he needs to pay blue, which I'll find here, for the... Tolera West, right? That's what it's called. Tolera West to, he's got to play two blue and a anything, so 3 mana. That would leave him access to basically 2 mana that he can then play Summer Bloom and then cast a Titan if he has a Summer Bloom in hand. We're not winning this game by just attacking with Nacatls, so I think I've got to chance the Collected Company. I don't have to do it right now, but I can do it later. The question is, though, I could do it right now and then blow up the Amulet of Vigor, and then I'll be ahead. He could have a Hive Mind in his hand, too. The question is really what I want to do here. I have 5 mana available to me, which is enough to do Collect a Company and Path to Exile, but not swing. Or I can swing for 3, which I think I'm leaning towards doing anyways, just so that I can finish him off with Collect a Company. And then Path to Exile the Titan, if it were to come out, but I don't think the Titan will come out, so I think attacking is the correct choice here. So I'm going to attack. That's what I'm going to do. And if I'm wrong, I can still bolt at least. Yeah, he's leaving the blue open to Taller West. Oh, but he's going to Serum Visions. Okay, then that means that we're totally in the clear. If he had a Serum Visions in hand, we're totally in the clear to win this game at this point. It's going to be very hard for him to cast a Titan with just the amount of mana that he's got right now. He can still do it. He could have drawn a Summer Bloom and Titan, in which case we're still fine because we have Path to Exile. I would have liked it to Path to Exile and Collect a Company then at the same time, but if this is how he's going to pay, I mean, he still can cast a Summer Bloom, so it's not happening, it seems like. Cool. Let's go ahead and Collect a Company. What do we, and see what we hit. If we hit a Qasali Pride Mage, that's pretty good. If we don't, that's fine too. It seems like Knight. Seems like we're actually going to go for just raw damage output. Let's see. With 3 damage plus, let's see here. If we do Smiter, who's our biggest, we have the damage output of doing 4, 5, 6, 7 plus a bolt to win. So Luxodon Smiter, and I probably grab Knight of the Rockery just to back it up. Even though Knight of the Rockery is not big right now. Voice of Resurgence, that's a blocker. See what he's got here. By the way, the reason why we didn't get Tarmogoyf here is because we still had 3 damage if we just attack solely with the Luxodon Smiter. We're betting that he doesn't have like some kind of thing that he would need black to kill with the Pact. Alright, so he has Pact. They only run 1 of in that, by the way, in that deck. But it makes it almost an impossibility for him to find and cast the Primeval Titan next turn. So what do we do here? We're going to go ahead and cast some things. Cast Voice of Resurgence. We still have the ability to bolt at this point. We still are going to be able to dig with Knight a little bit. He's got to pay for this. So I don't think he's going to be able to search and also to play the Titan. And even if he does, again, we have the Path, so it's not the worst. And so we'll dig with Titan, or we'll dig with Knight at the end of turn. Actually, it turned out to be a very interesting game. Even if I'm stuck on 1 land, this was kind of actually alright. This way, by the way, with my attack was lethal. It was not lethal if I attacked both all out. he'd be down at 7, which would be better than 9 that he's at right now. But it's still not the, I don't think it's still the correct play. I think what I did was the correct play. It's a smaller statistical chance that he has the Slaughter Pact. And it would have been better for us to win the game on the spot there than try to deal with this guy's combo a little bit more. Hive Mind. That's kind of sucky if he's got it. But he used his pact, so I don't think he does, right? I think we just go for the Arid Misa. And go for the what, Sacred Foundry? Yeah, there's really, I guess, Temple Garden. No, we want Stomping Ground. No, Sacred Foundry, so that way we can still have access to white, even if somehow he were to wipe my board. Again, I could go for lethal. I very much doubt he has a Slaughter Pact. Again, they only run like one of those in the deck. And if he, I guess he'd have to counter his own spell if he had Pact of Negotiation. And he's going to be able to cast something his own turn and pact it, so we just got to go for that. Hope he doesn't have the Pact Negotiation. Alright, no pact yet. We win. Okay, cool. We could have won last turn. We were a little bit on the ice. I knew he had at least two lands in his hand still, but actually we could have won last turn. I realized if we used Knight's ability to give it protection from black with the Sinjiri Step. That's my mistake. I forgot that I have Sinjiri Step in the deck. I gotta remember that I do in fact have Sinjiri Step, and I can use it for value rather than just for the combo. So anyways, bring in even Mind Sensor. Even Mind Sensor is good in this situation. We're also going to want to bring in Denials and Negates. Thalia's questionable whether we bring in Thalia. It doesn't, I think, do a ton. It stops something on the play, but on the draw it doesn't necessarily stop anything. The question is, do I also bring in a Collected Company to maybe grab a Aven Mind Sensor sooner? And also a Pride Mage. I didn't put this down on my guide, but I'm just thinking about it right now. I think that might be correct. We'll be taking out 2 bolts and 2 oozes and 2 voices. And I think that's fine. Even if he decides to go into a mid-range deck, this is still pretty good. Getting the Collected Companies into Aven Mind Sensors will still win us the game. It would have been way better if we had, like, Magnus of the Moons, but we don't, so. That was still a really good game 1. I can't be even salty if I lose this round because of how that game 1 played. We'll keep it. It's an aggressive hand. It doesn't have any, like, silver bullets against him, but we could draw him, statistically speaking, we could. I don't want to mulligan this. If he has like the nut draw and he wins, I mean, we've got 2 Path to Exiles though for the Titan, so it's really actually not all that bad. Colony Garden to start with. Okay, so he's got a 1/1 blocker or 0/1 blocker. Cool. Bird of Paradise to start on is even better for me. This will probably end up getting a Hollowed Fountain. And we'll grab a Stomping Ground first and foremost. And this will let us cast it on curve Knight of the Reliquary, or we can go for a Tarmogoyf with a Bolt backup if we're worried for a Azuzas. But without the I think we're just gonna go right for the Knight of the Reliquary. Just go for the Jugular. Because without a Amulet of Vigor, we're not in dire straits against him right now. Okay, Serum Visions. That makes my Tarmogoyf better. He can block here. I don't know why he wouldn't. It's a good way to stall me out with just one powerful creature. He could Silver Bloom for value without, and he is not going to. Okay, so what do I do here? Do I apply more pressure on the field in the form of the Knight of the Reliquaries and Tarmogoyfs, or do I just start attacking? I could theoretically put a Tarmogoyf. I could theoretically put a Goyf and Nacatl out instead of the Knight. I think that's probably the better plan, and just start attacking here. Could also have 4 mana, but 4 mana doesn't do anything other than maybe put a Knight and a Wild Nacatl out. I think we just start attacking is the better idea here. Because we have paths for the main problem, which is going to be Primeval Titan. Yeah, I think I would have accepted that damage too. There's a fair chance that I'm going to put out bigger stuff. So after this, we gotta start leaving mana open. But we've applied enough pressure on the board that I think that's actually fine. We're pretty aggressive right now. Because he could instant speed Amulet. He could just Summer Bloom for value, which we have no way to go against anyways. It looks like that's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to maybe rush into a... so he's going to toss back to West, or he's going to toss back a Garden in there. Cavern of Souls. Sure, I wasn't going to counterspell the Titan anyways. So he has one more land, right? So he's not going to put out something to block us. So I don't have to worry about that. I always forget you can't choose Titan with this. You gotta choose Giant. Okay, so that's fine with me. Alright, the question is, what do we do here? This is where the game starts becoming wider opened. I could play a Knight and then I don't play anything else. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to keep Path mana open just in case. At this point, I should always keep at least 1 mana open for Path. If I do that, I believe bolting is probably the correct call. And also putting down a Noble Hierarch. I think that's probably what we're going to do. I could bolt right now, and I think I will, so that I can get an extra 1 damage on the field. In my Tarmogoyf, that is, by the way. If that wasn't clear. I still lose to a Hive Mind, but I was losing to a Hive Mind regardless. Even if I was trying to front, I was still losing to a Hive Mind. But we're going to put it pretty close here. Alright, so he's going to block. I mean, I could have seen that coming. The other thing I could have done was go for a Keswick Wolfram, but with such little mana, even with my mana dorks, I didn't want to do that. So you could put down a Titan. He has the mana to put down a Titan. I gotta remember that these guys give 2 mana. That's 5 mana. That's Titan mana. So there's Titan, sure. But he's leaving himself wide open for an attack. Even if he puts down another Kali Garden to have a blocker, I can still path that thing. So I think we've got this game now, because he stumbled, and I recognize that my hand was aggressive enough that if he did not have the turn 2 Titan, I could still win the game. And you'd have to have 2 pact negotiations, which I think he can't pay for. So the question is this lethal? It's 2, 5, 7. It's not quite lethal. But there are other things that we can do here. We could Keswick Wolfrun, and if we Keswick Wolfrun, we lose 2 damage, but we'd have to gain 3 damage then to do that. And if we Keswick Wolfrun, we could do 1, 2, Keswick Wolfrun, 2 extra damage. So it's not quite lethal. However, he still can't beat us with a Titan. I think we're going to leave Knight up because we don't have lethal anyways. And we can use Knight for mana regardless. And we can swing back for the damage that it would represent anyways, while simultaneously getting Keswick Wolfrun. Actually, no. We do get 1 extra damage with the land going into the graveyard, right? So we do 1 extra damage with the land going in the graveyard, plus the Keswick Wolfrun. So it would be 3, 3, plus 2. That's just exactly lethal. And he doesn't have a way to give it haste yet, although he could find it with the thing. It's not a safe option. But if he has to pay for a... Well, no, it's still coming to play tap because he doesn't have a amulet. Yes, so this is what we're going to do. Play a red. Play a... Well, we don't have to do that quite yet. We'll sack this. Grab ourselves out a Keswick Wolfrun. We'll add green to the mana pool. And then tap these guys so that we don't mess this order up. Oh, we lose 1 because of that. Got it. Yeah, we're going to lose 1 no matter what because of our thing. So this gives ourselves a out against this will give ourselves an out against Primeval Titan at any rate. The only thing we lose to now is a what do you call it? A Hive Mind Pact. But even then, we're representing that we have like something to like counterspell it with blue here. Summoner's Pact, sure. Primeval Titan, so he's going to go for the combo. We have another path. He's going to gain 2 life, sure. There is the amulet, sure. Again, we can still path it though, so we left ourselves open with that. So we caught our mistake, and we saved ourselves. So far, this is all fine. There's nothing here unless he has a pact negotiation that we're screwed with. So we're gonna see what he's got here. If he's smart, I think he would get a garden, right? So you get a Boros garrison, sure. And a ghost quarter? A ghost quarter, I guess, for my Keswick Wolf Run. That sounds fine. Because I can always Sinjiri Step for green, by the way, and get around it, so it's not that big of a deal. And if you were to Ghost Quarter this, I can still get a basic planes. Alright, so I think I want to still force him to use the... Because it's not like he's running Remand. I don't think they run Remand in this deck, right? Let's make sure it doesn't run Remand. Because apparently Amia Bloom is really popular online right now. They have pact negotiations, and that's it. They brought in a Ghost Quarter from the sideboard against me, huh? Interesting. Yeah, that's fine. So he's just not going to attack then? If I let this go, then that means it just goes straight to attack and he misses it. Okay. That's a lot of mana. Summoner's Pact, sure. Opponents can't spell during your turn. Flying Lifelink, that's fine. I can still give something a... I can still give something a protection from green and just swing right by it. For Xaxes, actually. And we'll give it protection from green. Yep, okay, we just win. Cool. he didn't have the packs, so there's that. Yeah, I think we played that last game incredibly well, so I'm happy with that. Cool. Glad we got it. Why didn't anything else add to my collection? Thanks for watching, guys. Remember always to feed your animals, and you know, like and subscribe if you want to see more zoo videos in the future. I'm probably not going to do this specific type of zoo. I'm probably going to try out a faster zoo next time around. But like and subscribe. Ask any questions that you have in the comments. I love seeing comment questions. I love seeing comments in general. And I hope to help you guys out some more. See you later.